Receiving down payment assistance from CHAFA allowed us to expand our options for what kind of houses we were looking at.
CHAFA is Colorado's trusted partner for homeownership. Visit chfainfo.com/yourhome. CHAFA is an equal housing lender.
The Pueblo Star-Journal presents State of Art. State of Art is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast. This episode, celebrating the 2-year anniversary of State of Art, was produced and narrated by Bree Pappan. This episode features Bernice Barnes, David C. Russell, and Marc Sabatella.
Good afternoon, Pueblo, and welcome to the March edition of State of Art. I am Bree Pappan, and we have a very special program today. This is a special edition of the State of Art podcast. I am really excited to say that this is the second anniversary of the State of Art column at the Pueblo Star-Journal. Gregory Howell approached me about doing a arts and cultural deep dive for the Star-Journal 2 years ago, in February 2 years ago, and I never looked back. It's been a fantastic journey, and I am so excited about the things that are to come and the things that I've reported on and the people that I've been able to feature and talk about with the State of Art column. And we are also celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the State of Art podcast. This has enabled me to really have an in-depth look with the people that I interview and that I spotlight, the businesses, the artists, the galleries, the different cultural organizations in Pueblo. And I'm really, really excited to be able to continue this work because I think we're just getting started here in Pueblo. I am delighted to have 3 of my first podcast guests in the studio with me today, as well as some of my favorite artists and people in the city of Pueblo. They are movers and shakers and doers, which I really, yep, that's right, and shake their shoulders. I am just really love to surround my people with people that are proactive and are doers and make things happen. And these are 3 of the best. Welcoming Bernice Barnes, who also represents the Urban Sketchers of Pueblo. David C. Russell Jr., who represents the Southern Colorado Photography Society. And Marc Sabatella, who is, I think, you're no longer a newcomer. I don't know. You've truly invested yourself in Pueblo, and he is here on behalf of the Pueblo Musicians Meetup. Welcome to the 3 of you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad you could join me today. So much has happened since I first had you on the podcast. It's been a year, and it's been some time since I wrote about your respective organizations. Tell me, I'm going to start with you, Bernice. Tell me a little bit about the Urban Sketchers of Pueblo.
Well, thank you for having us here today, Bree. We appreciate it. The Urban Sketchers of Pueblo is a chapter in an international organization, and it's a very, very active chapter. In fact, we are going into the 7th year, and we have met every Sunday for the last 7 years, other than a few times when the weather was a little bit too difficult to manage either indoors or outdoors, and that we gave the sketchers a prompt so they could work from home. This has been a very successful organization. We have well over 800 members. Not all of them are active, but we are getting more active members every week. And we look for a new location every week that is not necessarily just an urban setting, but the Urban Sketchers, the theme of the entire international project is to look for things that are urban in nature. However, we do go to the county, we do go to other places where there are scenes and views that would be nice to sketch. We just post on our Facebook the location where everyone should be, what time they should be there, which is in the wintertime between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sundays. And in the summertime, to avoid the heat in the afternoon, we meet from 10 to noon. And we always post the time, but right now we are in the winter schedule. And the places that we've gone in the last 6 years have been everywhere you can think of in Pueblo: synagogues, churches, museums, parks, every place that is accommodating to probably 20 people that will generally show up and have space enough for them to park, and at least within walking distance of where we plan to be. One of our latest events was going to the Da Vinci Museum, which is not yet available for the public, but we were able to get a sneak peek in the preparation of this wonderful place, and it is absolutely fantastic. It will be one of the brightest spots in Pueblo for upcoming years. We also just recently went to the Rosemont Museum. We were very fortunate to have access to the synagogue this year, which was an event that no one expected to be able to do because of the political situation as it is. We've been to almost every park in town, and we look for places that are unique and try to do a little variety. There are 4 of us actually that do the planning for the events, and Teresa Vito, Joel Caulfield, and Steve Mason are the other culprits in this activity. And we also take any kind of reference from anybody that has an idea, and we try to work on it and see if we can either be invited and have access, or if it's a public place, we just show up. We do ask for any places that are using some kind of an entry fee to waive that fee in regard to the Urban Sketchers, so that we can entertain as many people and probably give them a little publicity in so doing.
Of course.
So that's what the Urban Sketchers is all about.
Phenomenal. That's awesome. And I love the group because I've gotten to know some of the Urban Sketchers, some of the group members, and have been among the setting at times for the Urban Sketchers. What are some of the you've mentioned challenging, of course, temperatures and weather conditions. What are some of the other most challenging things that you guys have come across in the last year or so?
You know, we've been extremely fortunate as an organization. There is no expectation of the membership. They don't have any fees. They have no organization as far as a president, vice president, rules, committees, any of that. It's all just a matter of showing up to be able to enjoy the location. I think that we have been extremely successful in not having a lot of issues between members and what we're actually doing, because it is a free organization. You don't have to be vetted to be able to join. There is no membership rules other than following the manifesto, which says that when you come to Urban Sketchers, you're going to look at what you see and sketch from what you see and only post that. We don't allow any kind of commercialism. What we've run into frequently are people that are asking for the Sketchers to have some kind of a pop-up art show, or have some kind of sales, or be able to put up a booth, or do something that requires that there be some kind of a treasurer, or at least a bank account, or somebody that will organize the whole event. And it's really, really difficult for us to do that because of the nature of the way we are organized, which is we don't have a checkbook. So we can't really accept money from people and pay it back to the artist. We don't have a way of doing that. What we do recommend is if you find an artist in the Sketchers that you like their piece, if it's been posted to Facebook and you enjoy it, contact that person individually, and they will help you with either getting a print or getting the original, and that way they can sell independently. We don't get together as a group and do that.
And has there been an exclusive Sketchers show?
We have done that in the past. We've had one at the Arts Alliance. We've had, when the Steel City Art Gallery was a little larger, there was a space where we could present our pieces there. The biggest problem we have is we have to, and we've also done the Heritage Museum.
Mm-hmm.
each individual artist has to sign up independently, and each time a piece of their work is sold, it goes directly to the artist. It does not go to Urban Sketchers for the same reasons. So organizing a show and sale is a little bit complicated so that we can entertain the people that would like to be involved and not exclude anyone. And that's the only thing we've ever done.
Okay. But that's opened the door to collaborations as well.
Yes.
So let me move that to Mr. David. This is David Russell from the Southern Colorado Photography Society. Hi, David, and thank you so much again for being here today.
Well, thanks for the invitation.
Of course. Tell me a little bit about the Southern Colorado Photography Society.
It's an interesting time that you asked that question because we're right in the middle of reinventing ourselves.
Okay.
2 years ago, the leadership that had been running it for 12, 14 years decided to step down. They had enough. So for the last 2 years, we've sort of been...
And was that Joe Clune?
Joe Clune, Linda Cates. I'm forgetting who else was there at that time. I wasn't.
Oh, sure.
So for the last 2 years, we've been sort of ambling around a little bit. And finally, people, as they tend to do, want more clarity and some direction. And since I've spent a lot of my life as a consultant helping small businesses and nonprofits, I'm facilitating the reinvention of the club. So we're keeping the names. We just got re-established with the Secretary of State. We are now an official nonprofit in the state of Colorado.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yep, we are putting together a board. We have our articles of incorporation, our bylaws, and, baby steps, but we're going a little bit at a time. And organically, we have a group of people that are messing with the science of cameras and light. We have another group that's been around for a long time that go out in the middle of nowhere and take pictures. I'm a portrait photographer. I don't understand taking pictures of rocks and sand, but they like it.
Still life portraits.
And we had our annual show in January at the library at the Rawlings branch, and thanked them for, giving us that space to do that.
Yeah.
But since that show, because of all the interest, we now have about twice as many people showing up to our monthly meetings. So
and is that still at Lamb Branch?
Yes.
Library branch? Okay.
And I think we had 29 people show up last time, which is more than twice our usual attendance.
Oh, goodness.
And a lot of new people. But we're reaching out to younger people. We're reaching out to different types of photographers, which makes me feel good. I'm not the only portrait photographer anymore.
Of course.
So that's all growing, and it feels good, and, I'm happy to use my experience to help them get organized.
It feels good to be seen and to become popular and have an interest with people that may not have known you were around. Same goes with the Sketchers. I think 800 is really up there, though, so that's a pretty crazy number.
Well, I think we have 170.
That's fantastic.
At the photo club.
Wow. So in this new endeavor of recreating yourself, what are some of the things that, and how many members of, I'm not going to call it regime, of the older group or of the continuing group, how many members have continued to be a part of it?
I'd say most of them.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the old leadership stepped back because it was a lot of work organizing everything.
Of course, it is.
And, not being a landscape photographer, I didn't really appreciate what it takes to take a group of 12 people out in the middle of the Utah desert for 3 or 4 days to photograph. I mean, that involves a lot. RVs and food and safety. And
travel agent, type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and all that. So they got a little bit tired of that, and I understand that. But it's coming back. A lot of those people are still members of the club. They've been members forever. I think the club initially started in 80-something, and it's still going. I agree,
yeah, just from my recollection, yeah.
Yeah, but now we have 18 and 19-year-olds showing up at the meeting.
Wonderful.
They are sort of interested in what us old folks have to say. So we're passing on a lot of knowledge and experience.
So with that younger generation or the new ideas about photography, how much are you hearing about AI manipulation or digital non-film? I mean, just kind of new concepts.
A lot, and that's going to be the struggle for the next year. Because, what do we do about that? I mean, nationally, the give and take is you don't manipulate a photograph more than 10%.
Okay.
And as David Hayden, one of the longtime members, says, what does that even mean? Because your camera has a computer in it, your light meter has a computer in it, your processing software has a computer in it, and they're all doing different things.
Of course.
And unless you're taking a cereal box and putting a little pinhole in the front with a sheet of film in the back of it, it's all being manipulated.
Of course.
So it's an ongoing discussion. The state fair has not done us any favors. That's my personal opinion as a photographer, because they haven't really settled on, what's acceptable and what's not.
Yeah. I seem to recall a lot of AI generated images in the state fair entry, art show entry. And as a person that has studied art history, I tend to step away or move further away from those things because it really questions about what is actually the creative force behind that.
Yeah.
Is it the person? So that's what you really have to consider. So that's a very interesting thing in terms of, I like the fact that you're getting a younger group of people that are coming, because that's really a chance to speak to the newer generation of artists. But I totally understand where there's an older group or a steadfast group within the organization that has a love and appreciation for the classic way of taking a photograph.
Yeah. And some of our photographers are film photographers. They're still using film.
Yes.
And, shooting and processing that way. And it's good to listen to younger people and different people about their view about AI. We have a bunch of photographers who only use their cell phones as cameras. I don't think a camera should be able to make a phone call, but that's just me. But it's changing. I mean, technology changes the world, and it's not going to ever stop changing. But I think the question, which will be fun to deal with our club for the next year or so, is what is photography?
Absolutely. That's a big question.
It is a huge question.
Yeah. So what are some of the projects that the club has been involved in the last year or so? Other than their annual show and your annual art show?
Mostly it's been landscape, trips out to Nevada, Utah, out in the middle of nowhere, as I call it. I myself did a photo session at the Ormond Mansion.
Yes.
And several of the photographers were invited to be a part of that show. And they were landscape photographers. And they surprised themselves that they could actually take a picture of a human being inside a building.
It's a new challenge.
And they did well. The work that came out of that was just amazing. So that's one of the things we have been doing. We've been asked to mentor at one of the high schools. I'm not sure which one. They would like a photographer to come in once a week and just talk to their photography class.
That's amazing. That's so great.
And see what experience we can offer them. And in my view, what they offer us. Because that's a whole different perspective.
Absolutely.
Photography.
Absolutely. Marc Sabatella, thank you again so much for joining us in studio again.
And thank you so much for having us.
Of course. And Marc, you are part of, or the brainchild behind the Pueblo Musicians Meetup. Tell me about the group and what some of the things that you have been doing in the last year or so.
Okay. So the group, so calling it a group is a little bit of a misnomer. It's just an opportunity for anyone who wants to come show up, and we actually call it the Hangout. And it moved from Fridays when it had been first and third Fridays. We just moved it to first Wednesdays, and so it is going to be first Wednesdays going forward at Analog. And the idea is just that I wanted musicians to get to know each other better and communicate better. And it's interesting because I also have been in Pueblo just about 2 years, so I've been here as long as this column was there, and I was still new, still felt very new and green when I first came on to the podcast. But my perspective hasn't really changed that much of how I perceive things here. When I first arrived in Pueblo, I instantly, through the Urban Sketchers, but then also through things like First Friday Art Walks, saw a vibrant, well-connected visual art community. And I heard good music, but I didn't sense that same sort of connection, that same sense of the musicians all knowing each other and seeing each other on a regular basis. And that kind of bothered me, and I didn't really know what to do about it. I was still new. I just went around talking to a lot of people, and the hangout was what kind of came of that. Was the idea that, well, let's just designate a particular time at a particular place and invite anyone who wants to show up and just get together. It's not an organization. It's not a 501c3. It's a nothing organization, even more of a nothing organization.
It's a hangout.
It's a hangout, yeah. And so it's been different people showing up every week. Some people who come pretty often, or I should say every month now. But it's been an interesting thing. And in the course of that, one of the goals was for people to get to know each other, but exchange information, exchange ideas, do some brainstorming. And a number of things have come up from that have turned into things in themselves, combined with the fact that I also got involved with the Creative Consortium, as you mentioned, Creative Consortium of Pueblo, which is also a not 501c3, but just a very loose conglomeration of people. They really don't want to have that kind of organization. They don't want to, I guess the feeling is, well, there's already Sangre de Cristo, there's already Arts Alliance, there's already other actual organizations. This was going to be just sort of this loose thing. But I found them when I started asking people, well, what sort of organization is there for music? And was told, well, there really isn't anything, but there is this Creative Consortium, and in theory they could be doing more music stuff. I just don't think they do. And someone pointed me to where their meetings were or when they were, and I started showing up and realized that, yeah, they have this very broad mission of the arts in general, promoting the arts in general in Pueblo. And I started, okay, yeah, I do have a visual arts background also, and the Urban Sketchers has sort of reawoken that in me. For a long time, like maybe 20 years ago, this felt like I was having a parallel path of music and art, and then I kind of put the art aside for the last 20 years. But now that's becoming a bigger part of what I do, in part because of the Urban Sketchers, in part because of the Creative Consortium. But in my mind, I was like, yeah, but I really want to be doing music things and pushing that agenda. So a year ago, I was involved with this art project, the Pueblo Arts Week, we called it, and it was just a collection of different events that were mostly already existing events, and we just sort of threw an umbrella around them. But I got very involved with the Creative Consortium through that, and then decided, then an opportunity to be one of the chairs opened up, and so I applied for that, and so I'm now one of the chairs, specifically saying I want to be representing music. So coming back to the hangout was sort of happening in parallel to that. I'm like, okay, well, now this is something that's associated with the consortium, and I can house it there in some way. But one of the things that also came up through the Creative Consortium was they were talking to like the convention center and the Chamber of Commerce, who does, or Visit Pueblo wing of the chamber, who helps with a lot of the, maybe not booking the conventions, but acting as concierge for them, basically.
Tourism oriented.
Yeah. And so we started talking to them. The Creative Consortium started talking to the Convention Center and Chamber about, how could we bring the arts into this? If some group is coming from out of town and they want to have some sort of arts experience, what can we do? And I'm like, well, music can be part of that also. And the idea between that discussion and just talking at the hangout, the idea that we should have an actual registry of musicians, so that anyone who's a musician should be known and be possibly considered for whatever opportunities come up, and have it not just be, well, whoever you happen to know. And
Sure.
And I've talked to several of the people who do booking for some of the venues around here, and they were like, yeah, we know who we know, and we know we don't know who we don't know. And
Of course, yeah.
and the idea that it would be really nice to have that happening as well. So I spent a lot of time developing that, and developed like a form you fill out and it automatically populates a spreadsheet. And then I've also now taken over managing the Creative Consortium website, which had originally been started and they didn't really have a purpose for it. It was just more like, well, we should have a website. But I'm like, well, no, I think actually we have a purpose. And part of that purpose has to do with having a place for things like this registry, having a place to publicize the hangout, and also for First Friday, and this is going all over the place, but I guess that's what I do. For First Friday...
If you're going to clone yourself, now's the time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. For First Friday, one of the things that I realized is if you just wanted to know at any given point, like while you're there walking around the art walk, wondering, well, I wonder who's at which gallery right now, that information wasn't as easy to get to as you might want.
Course, yeah.
The Arts Alliance does a great job in putting this newsletter together that they send out. But in my mind, I just wanted a clear listing that just listed everyone, time, date, who, what, where, when, without all the fancy graphics. And
for the most recent art walk, I noticed that you have like which gallery is participating in First Friday, which show is going to be at that gallery, and what the dates are and everything. So it is extremely helpful to know, because people that participate in the art walk oftentimes have I'm going to do the art walk loop, or I have these particular places that I always go, but maybe I should go to this place who's participating this time, because they don't always participate, but they have a great show. For example, the Heritage Museum. They don't always participate, but they often have wonderful shows that have a plethora of artists that come together. They do a lot of, collaborative shows, but they don't always participate in First Friday. So that's extremely helpful to know who's doing what when and who's there. So I think for the people that are regulars in Art Walk, or the people that maybe just moved here, or the people that I need to start doing some more things, or I want to be involved in the community, or what's happening, what's going on tonight, it's First Friday, whatever. I think that it's going to touch a lot of interested people to know that they can refer to that particular resource and be able to see all in one swoop who's what where.
Yes,
I think that's a great idea. I mean,
I
think that's been an idea from the get-go, but to have somebody springboard that, take charge of that, is really, I think, where the lack was, in terms of having somebody to be able to just spearhead that.
Yes, and the information is there, but collecting it in one place. I mean, the Arts Alliance does a fantastic job in assembling that newsletter, organizing the Van Gogh shuttle, and having the schedule there, and they have a QR code printed on the sidewalk that you can scan to find out about the schedule. And I was like, but what if that QR code didn't just have the bus schedule, but actually listed the galleries and what's going on there? So it's like, well, let's take all the information we have, gather it in one place, and have the QR code go there. So the Creative Consortium website is now the place. And so it is now going to have a lot more information than it had before on that website, including a page for music and a page for theater, etc., for dance, for photography, for film. And there is now a page there that just is specifically for musicians that has the information about the hangout, the information on the registry, how to sign up for it, and also now we manage a Google Groups discussion list so that we can have discussions about the music scene in between the month that we actually get together at the hangout.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I've been just juggling a lot of things, and they're all kind of
You're fully
coming
immersed.
together.
You are
Yes.
fully immersed at this point. So what are some of the things that I recall going to the musicians hangout meeting, and there was probably, I'd say 6 to 10 musicians there. And I've had the honor of interviewing and featuring certain ones, especially Aaron Zamola, who is a premier violinist and lecturer, and really got to understand and develop his talent. And so where have you experienced an increased membership or group of regular people that come? Again, sorry, no, there's no membership. It's very casual. An increased interest of people that come to the meetings.
It's the actual numbers haven't changed that much. It goes up and down, but what happens is almost every week that we have one, again, it used to be twice a month, now it's once a month, there's almost always someone who hasn't been there before.
Okay.
And so it's expanding in that sense, but it's not like everyone's there every time, because it's just
that is
not,
progressive.
It's meant to be it's meant to be that kind of informal thing. My hope, though, when we moved it from Fridays to Wednesdays, a big part of that had to do with, well, musicians, of course, work on Fridays more often. And we had it early enough that I hoped that wasn't a problem. We tried to time it. Originally, I wanted Fridays so that it would be like during the day when students are not in school, it could be a thing to do during the day, and we'd involve more students. But as the idea developed, it was more, well, evening felt better for people after work, but then we'll keep it early enough that then maybe they will stay for the music at Analog.
Okay.
And so, but then it was like, well, it's actually in the way of when they're setting up their PA and all. And so it was like, that wasn't such a great fit. So we moved it to Wednesdays to be out of the way of that. It's after work at 5:30. So, people can come then. And the word has, we're still now getting the word out about the day change.
Okay.
But in general, it should be better for more people, we think. And the other thing is, by moving to just once a month, we're hoping to make it feel a little more special of an event and something you plan for and don't want to miss, because you'll have to wait a month before you can go again. And that might, give people a little
Create
more
some
incentive.
anticipation for people.
Yeah, I'd rather have more people meeting less often than fewer people meeting more often, I think. I mean, that's I think that's what we want. So
that makes sense. So is it true that is the Pueblo Arts Alliance still handling the busker licenses?
Yes, the Street Beat program.
Okay.
I just got mine last week.
Okay, yay.
I'm gonna,
because we're heading into that time period. I mean, I know. Are we going to have a winner? There's a big question mark. But that time when we have more community and public events, especially in April. Of course, April is the Steel City Music Showcase. And we're moving into, April has also been deemed as, the Primavera, which I don't know if it's going to be happening this year, but in terms of I think not. But when all of these community events these large public events are happening. Pueblo Film Fest was pushed back to the fall. So we are looking at Pueblo Steel, the Music City Showcase, excuse me, beep, to come in April. So how much involvement will the hangout or the musicians in the musicians that be participate in Steel City this year? So
there's been some controversy around the showcase this year, in that there's a perception, well, it's a true statement that there's not that many local bands in the showcase.
Okay.
I can see why that would be the case, because if you're a band that's mostly already playing around, then it doesn't feel like a big deal that people might pay a big ticket price to go see the same bands they could see any week. I get that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you're going to call it Steel City Music Showcase, you expect it to showcase Steel City music.
Musicians of the Steel City.
So there's been some controversy about that exploding on social media the last couple of weeks, which has been interesting because one of the things that came out of those discussions was the idea that, there should be more, and the local band should have known more that this was something they could have applied for. And that's one of the things that I'm hoping now having this registry will help with. The person who does the booking isn't in Pueblo. He doesn't necessarily know the Pueblo scene. If he wanted to book more music, how would he do so? Well, he could talk to a few people who would tell him the people they know.
Come to a musician's hangout meeting.
Yeah, but I would love it. I would love the registry to be a useful resource by next year when they do the booking. Yeah. So as far as how many local musicians are involved with the showcase, there's not that many. I think there's 5 bands, 6 bands, something like that. Yeah. But what there is this year that's new, and I had no direct connection with this, but there is now a community stage that's during the day for free that a school teacher from D70, Carolyn Morrison, is organizing, and Brock Kilgore, who came on with me, helped organize that. I mean, he came on the podcast with me.
We've had Brock on the program.
And so he was one of the ones who kind of instigated this idea there should be a community showcase. So I'm actually going to be playing on that stage because Brock got Carolyn to well, not single-handedly, but, they brought on Carolyn to do that. She hired Elliot Ring, who has this group of folk musicians that get together periodically, weekly, more than weekly, to just make music, old-time folk music kind of stuff. And a version of that conglomeration is going to play on that showcase, and I'll probably play some melodica with them.
Okay. Very good. I'm exhausted, and that's it for today. No, I'm just kidding. I'm excited about your involvement because I know that, as a newcomer to Pueblo 2 years ago, and then when we started the podcast 1 year ago, the word I would not use is reluctance, but in terms of your willingness and your excitement about becoming involved in the community was infectious. And I am very happy to see that you have solidified that curiosity in you to become involved. I often see the 3 of you out when I'm going on the first Friday. It's Marc's playing somewhere, and then David is in the gallery opening, as well as Bernice, or I see 1 or 2 out. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, thanks to our sponsors. But when we come back, I want to talk about the thing that is inevitable, which is collaboration between the 3 of you, and how some of those things have materialized, what some of those things are, and how they've materialized this past year, and of course, what you have on the horizon. So we'll be right back, just from our quick sponsor note, and we'll see you soon. Okay, welcome back. This is a State of Art, a March edition, a special edition, our anniversary edition of State of Art. I'm Bree Pappan, and I am filled with joy to be joined in the studio with Bernice Barnes, David C. Russell Jr., and Marc Sabatella, all representative of some fantastic organizations, non-organizations, loose hangouts in Pueblo. We have a representation from the Urban Sketchers of Pueblo, the Southern Colorado Photography Society, and the Pueblo Musicians Hangout. I want to talk with all of you about some collaborative projects that you've been a part of this year. I know for sure, Bernice and David, you have had some fantastic events and collaborations, and have some on the horizon that are coming, have some that are happening right now, have happened in the past, and are happening in the future. So put all that together. Tell me a little bit about some of the 1 or 2 of the projects. I guess David's talking about the project that you worked on collaboratively between the Southern Colorado Photography Society and the Urban Sketchers. You touched on it a little earlier, but can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I call it Tracks Through Time. I guess that's the best way to think about it. It's been going on now for 2 years, 3 years?
3 years.
Forever. But, and I'm a little bit nuts, but my whole point of, well, not the whole point, but one of the things I wanted to do was create a project from different perspectives. I know I'm a portrait photographer. There's no question about that. That's what I do. And I've been hanging out with the Urban Sketchers on Sundays, and I see their work. And then I'm in the club with these other photographers who are landscape photographers and architectural photographers and product photographers. And they have, some of them do film, some of them do digital. Some of them have been doing photography for 50 years. Some of them have been doing it for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had this notion, it's like, well, what happens if we put all these people in the same place, looking at the same thing? What comes out of that? What story do they tell? So Tracks Through Time, the first one, which was a year or so ago, came off pretty well, made a lot of mistakes. As a producer, that's what happens, and you learn. And this one at the Orman Mansion, we had 10 models, 6 photographers, and only one of us is a real portrait photographer. And then on Sunday, we had 15, 18
I
sketchers.
feel like there was more than that. Yeah. Yeah.
Sketchers come in.
And Mark, you were included that, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he played the piano.
As a piano player, a model, and a sketcher.
But the whole thing was, we're in a historic building, and we're sort of reliving, recreating, and telling the story of what happened here in Pueblo from 1880 through 1960. And that was the whole premise of all this. There's a lot of backstory to it. But the work that's come out of that has just been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. One of the landscape photographers, and I will embarrass him, James Van Hoy, was like, I don't know if I can take pictures of people. And he did some work that just absolutely blew me away and blew himself away, that he could do such phenomenal work. And he has such a great time doing it. I mean, the models know what they're doing. They're trained, so there wasn't a lot of prompting needed. It was a great collaborative 2 days of work. Mm-hmm. There's been some fallout since then. Jealous people and whatever. And, I spent 20 years on Wall Street, so a lot of it doesn't bother me. It annoys me, but it doesn't really bother me. But 2 things have come out of it, which you'll be hearing probably for the first time right now, is that Laura Campbell, I believe her name is the head of the Goodnight Barn restoration project.
Yes.
And she said the first tracks in Pueblo were made by a wagon wheel. And that's where you should start this project.
Oh my, yes. Let's put it... If we could all see Bernice's motions right now, she's saying, Tracks Through Time 3. But backwards.
No, that's the
Back to the Future. Yeah.
That's the prequel. and then I attended the Boys and Girls Club annual event last night. And MRXX, which is, has the test track and the Hyperloop and all that stuff. They were one of the sponsors.
Sure.
And again, because I guess this work has been seen around the community, well, if you ever want to look at the future, maybe you guys should come out to the test track.
Yes.
And his view is, I'm not sure how you're going to dress the models, but if you wanted to do a futuristic thing, we've got the future right here in Pueblo.
Yeah.
So we have a prequel and a sequel. So that's what's coming up next. I'm working with somebody that's going to produce a book of all this work.
Wonderful.
So hopefully that will be out soon. So
Okay.
those are the kind of things. I like collaboration. But I can I sort of change the subject a little bit?
Sure.
I have been tortured my entire life because I have a creative brain and I'm a businessman. I mean, I've run the Small Business Development Center
Yeah.
here in Colorado. I've been a business counselor to small businesses and nonprofits. And one of the first lessons that I teach my students when they come in to start a business is what is the only thing you need? The only thing you need to run a business.
Sheer will.
No, that helps. You need a customer.
A customer. Sure.
And
Yes.
that's where Pueblo, in my opinion, is failing. The consortium, all of this is all great stuff. We've got talent, amazing talent.
Yeah.
We've got artists and musicians and theater people and sculptors that are just unbelievable.
Creativity is not the shortcoming here.
Now, the
in terms of-
shortcoming is we need to educate the leaders of this community to market this place. That's where we're failing. And no disrespect to its history, but if I never hear the word Steel City again, I'll be very happy. And I don't know about you, but I have never wanted to take a vacation to a Steel City.
True.
I've taken a vacation to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which used to be.
Yes. Bethlehem Steel.
Yeah. And now that whole facility is an amazing mall. It's a theater. It's a stores. There's music there every day in the atrium. It is just an amazing community center now with a town that was dying in the 80s. So
I applaud all of those new people that are coming to Pueblo that see the potential here. And it's just, you can lead a horse to water. But the most difficult conversation to have is about the business of art.
Yes.
That is one of the most difficult things to talk about, to market, to teach, to educate artists and creatives about how to be successful at what they're doing in a business environment. That is one of the most difficult things because they know how to market themselves. They know sometimes, but sometimes they need guidance. But also, there is an amazing product here. It's about packaging it and who to give it to, who to propose this to. That's where I see the disconnect sometimes in terms of how Pueblo develops. It's not about tourism or visitation or anything like that. It's about a destination, becoming a destination, and what do we have
And
to
branding.
make it a destination. I've had members of the Pueblo Tourism. I've had the Chamber people on. I've had United Way. I've had major organizations on both programs, and we discuss it every single time. And each one of them has a very creative answer, but everybody never answers the same. So that's why it's very interesting to hear about people's ideas about what could be. We could all be in the room together. That would be another thing.
Well, there's a way to do that, and it's educating the non-creative people. When I was on city council in Canyon City, again, my artistic side and business side, small little town. At that time, there were 23,000 people. Our city budget was maybe $4.5 million. But we were spending close to $700,000 a year on marketing because we were trying to offset the fact that we had 13 prisons in our county.
Yeah.
And that there actually was nice things to do in Canyon other than get locked up.
Yeah.
If city and county took all the money they give the chamber and everybody else, Destination Pueblo, and said, guys, get all your marketing people together, come up with a new branding for this, and let's promote our creative community. That's economic development.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, at the beginning of this year in the paper, I talked about how the state of art changing in Pueblo, and how the resources that were there before are going away this year in terms of the amount of money that certain nonprofits will be getting, which is zero now.
Yes.
The chamber is no longer funding certain entities in the city, and that creates a stopgap with their budget because they were relying on it for many, many years. If it wasn't coming from the city, then it was coming from the county or certain constituents or benefactors, and that is no longer. So it's creating a problem for or not a problem. It's creating a dilemma in terms of fundraising and how that loss of money will affect the ability for certain organizations to deliver programming and continue to create visibility and interest. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Big or small, organizations, big or small, face this. And however, the collaborations of the city and this tourism department, Visit Pueblo, have been collaborating more closely with artists individually, creating opportunities for artists to on certain projects that are visible in the city, visibility projects. So it's kind of a catch-22. It's like we're going to take away the large amounts of money that we've been handing out, but we are creating opportunities that are more singular to artists. So it's just proactive. Just artists need to be more proactive individually or as groups, and seeking out those opportunities because they are there. They just need to be more proactive about it.
But it's opening the door for new thinking.
Absolutely.
I have someone actually threw a rock at me when I said this the first time years ago. Because I'm a newcomer to Pueblo. Did not go to any of the high schools here. And I said, the worst thing that ever happened to this town economically is that the steel mill didn't actually close. Because had it actually closed the doors, shut it up, then the powers that be, the leaders of the city, would have to sit down and say, oh, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
And the city still hasn't had that discussion.
True.
So I sit with people last night at Boys and Girls Club who are earning 6 figures a year as scientists, researchers, innovators. And most of the people in Pueblo have no idea that that's going on within a 10-minute drive of here.
Yeah.
And some of those companies out there confess to me, which I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to, no one ever asked them for money. Because everybody knows that they're out there.
So therein lies the problem, maybe. I don't know.
So challenge is the right word. It's time to be challenged and find out what's next.
Right.
So sorry to change the subject.
What a segue, David.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot.
You take it.
But okay. So then my question is to Bernice and Marc, then what lies ahead for what kind of things are in the future for the Urban Sketchers?
Well, I agree with everything that's happening with the art community, and I'm really grateful that Marc has taken on the webpage or having a access point for people to advertise, as I'm sure the Star Journal has attempted to do. It's very, very difficult to gather up the information and have it available for people to find in one location, and we hear this repeatedly, that if you just had someplace that you could call and say, hey, we're doing this at such and such a time on such and such a day, the advertising alone is very difficult and expensive for some. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's part of the issue with the individual people that are trying to sell their work. If they don't have other sources of income, mm-hmm. it's not something that you can usually do as the only source of your way to survive. And I think that needs to be corrected to some degree, because any community, as we've known throughout the ages, that has a good, vital art community, art, music, theater, all of it, is a drawing card for people that mm-hmm. want to see, be, and do. And if you can gather the people that want to see, be, and do, they spend their money.
Yeah.
And Pueblo could be that place. Mm-hmm.
That's very well put. Very well put in terms of what the potential is.
Yes,
in terms of
and
that's
it's all
absolutely.
here. It's being able to connect with people, and unfortunately, the scrambling for the dollar has been so difficult that people tend to become jealous of each other. They want this, they want that. They don't work together in harmony because they're afraid the other guy might get the buck. It doesn't have to be that way. We could all share, and if we shared our resources. I certainly don't look at the photographers as competition.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, had I not had David as a source for some of my work, I wouldn't have the work.
Right.
And I look at Marc, and he's amazing. I mean, his artwork is phenomenal.
I know.
And then he plays the piano with such
Ease.
high skill.
As a second nature riding a bike, yeah.
And the first time I saw some of his sketches, I said, Marc, you sketch the same way you paint, or you sketch the same way you play the piano, and it's the same,
effortlessly.
very much effortless, but it's the same energy. It's kind of phenomenal to find people like that and become friends with them and do things together, because there's always that next rainbow that we're looking for.
Yeah.
And so with David, it's very simple because he creates the photographs. I use them as reference. We have these little shows together, pieces, that's a piece of cake.
Case in point happening now at the Loading Dock Gallery at Fuel and Iron is that exact collaboration that you're talking about, in which David provides the photographs, the portraits, and you're providing the sketches or the sketch interpretations of them, and that's a beautiful collaboration in terms of how people see differently, and it's beautiful. So
Thank you.
I went to see it. I wasn't unfortunately there first Friday because I was home being sick, but I did go later, and it's a fantastic show, and I think that's just opens up the door for more collaborations, and it doesn't have to be just photographers and sketchers. It can be any medium. Absolutely.
Exactly. And look at what has happened with the mural project.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's part of Pueblo, and it will be forever.
And congratulations to Tia Monsoon for having the new seat after Cynthia Ramu has retired. Cynthia Ramu is the foundation, the mother of all levee painting murals. I mean, she just really is. It is because of her. And that was a huge undertaking. She has an incredible legacy, and I'm excited for what Tia is going to be bringing to the next generation for that.
Well, and honestly, if you look at the Da Vinci Museum, what more could you ask for? What more could you ask? It's such a fabulous situation that we could use to bring together all of these very artistic people that are very highly skilled and find a way to make it a whole. If you were coming to Pueblo, what could you do in one weekend? Who could you bring in to make it a really fascinating, fun thing to do? And there's so much that could be happening, and I just love the idea that Marc's taking on the website. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I want Marc to compose a piece, museum, and have a concert inside
There you
that
go.
museum.
Yeah. That'd be amazing. Marc, do you want to respond to that?
Well, when
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
when we were there sketching at the museum, I did talk to Joe, who kind of runs the show, and they do have a piano there, and they definitely have plans of having music. I have one hesitation about it in that they are definitely have a mission of, it's stuff associated with Da Vinci, or more generally the Renaissance. Piano didn't exist then. So
True.
it's always going to be at a bit of an anachronism to have piano music at a something that is focused on Da Vinci or his Renaissance contemporaries.
I don't know, Italian concerto music. I don't know. Could you do something like that? Like, in the flavor of, in the spirit of.
I have lots of ideas,
I'm sure.
and I started the dialogue with Joe to kind of figure out what that might look like. But I've spent the last 2 years, doing these things, trying to organize things, connect people. I haven't been doing that much myself as far as my own work, right? My own. I get together with the Sketchers almost every Sunday and sketch. I've done a few gigs, like just last year, finally got a keyboard to be able to play around.
You play with Carlos Kroll quite often at the Broadway.
I play occasionally at the Broadway. And
briefly plug that.
Yep, thank you. And we have a monthly thing that we do the last Sunday of the month at Nunez Lounge, which has been nice.
And I know that the Abriendo Inn is full speed ahead in terms of their upcoming outdoor music season, which is fantastic, phenomenal. I've been talking with the owners, and they're just like, fingers crossed, but they have been successful in obtaining their ability to do that. So I think that is a huge opportunity for the network of musicians that you've tried to, organize, create, put together. I just think that, I think it's about getting gigs. It's about getting gigs, musicians getting gigs. It's not just about, I know Christian and, various other artists who were regulars at places or who are very active in the music community as solo artists. But it's also about venues and people who do music booking or want to do music booking understand what kind of music there is here, so they can have a repertoire of music if they want in their venue, so that it's not the same all the time, or to have some type of Pueblo musicians hangout showcase.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be an idea. But I just wanted to finish the thought that I haven't been putting myself out there as an artist or as a musician, other than when Carlos calls me or other people have called me for things. Mm-hmm. But I do have in my mind that I still want to have a big, kind of coming out concert or whatever, welcome me to Pueblo concert with things. And I also think, I should probably actually have an art show.
A debut.
And absolutely.
And
maybe it's the same event. Yeah, so I'm thinking along those lines.
Have a show of your sketchwork, of your art pieces, and then play at that show opening. That's a no-brainer.
I think if you're going to be going to the Da Vinci Museum and creating their music, I think you should do a Tracks Through Time score, because why would you do nothing for the Tracks Through Time?
There needs to be a soundtrack to go across with the book.
Yes, because the thought of an audio visual book, Tracks Through Time, has recently come up. Another thing that I've been told about. Yeah. And
the ideas are endless over here in this group. They really are.
I think that's what sort of holds Pueblo back, is we keep thinking along the same traditional lines. We need to break out of that.
Yeah.
The amount of venues in this town for art, music, whatever, are 4 times the size of what we typically go to all the time.
Exactly.
And it's a matter of, educating building owners and educating venue owners that we could do it differently.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example in closing that that seeing the Union Depot and the Orman Mansion as these creative outlets. They're reimagined. They're not just, the train depot, the historic train depot that has small business inside of it, or it's not just the Orman Mansion, which is an historic home, which is now a boutique hotel, bed and breakfast, but they are creative environments in which these projects can take place. So that's true. That's true for a lot of the shops, organizations, destinations, businesses that I've talked about with both Bree on a Budget and State of Art, in terms of reimagining this building, reimagining what can be possible inside these places. You sketch there, you sketch inside so many of these businesses, and you see so many different possibilities inside these businesses. But it's not just what it's standing as, like as a hotel or a train depot. It's it's the scene of an art project, you know. So it's reimagining these possibilities. I think that's definitely something that we could do more of in the future, for sure. So, any last words?
And this building is a great example. The very first time I came into this building in 2005, it struck me as an old castle.
Oh, sure.
You know, because it has the height and the little courtyard.
It was a department store at one time, wasn't it?
Almost.
Yeah, okay.
And I said, why aren't we doing Sunday concerts in here?
With the acoustics, yeah.
We have the acoustics are great. We got 2 stories. You can line people on the second level to just look out and listen to music.
You're probably not the only person that has had that thought, and I hope not. I mean, for sure. Sure. Bernice, did you want to say one last thing?
There's one last thing we've kind of failed to mention, and kudos to the Consilia brothers for the things they're doing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We've mentioned the places where we've been several times, and they continue to do an exceptional job of trying to create places in Pueblo that are desirable, including the Neon Alley and the Mormon Mansion and the train station and depot. Yes, everything is beautiful, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, they're passionate. Everybody, there's a lot of passion here as well in terms of the preservation, in terms of bringing all these things to market, in terms of available resources for the community. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Bernice, David, and Marc, for joining me again for this special anniversary program. I really thank you for taking the time to join me today. And this has been State of Art. This is Bree Pappan. Thank you again to our listeners over the last year. And thank you so much again for the readers, for the column, and all of the feedback and input that I've gotten in the last 2 years of State of Art. I truly appreciate the community. And we're trying to do it here. We're trying to make things happen here in Pueblo, artistically, culturally, creatively. And we just need to keep going. It's a fun battle. Thank you all again so much for joining me today. And that was State of Art, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to State of Art, a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast, presented by the Pueblo Star-Journal. This episode, celebrating the 2-year anniversary of State of Art, was produced and narrated by Bree Pappan. The Pueblo Star-Journal thanks Colorado Housing and Finance Authority for their support of this podcast. To learn more and to support nonprofit local news in Pueblo, Colorado, visit pueblostarjournal.org. Thank you for listening.
Homeownership is possible with a trusted partner.
And it brings us a lot of joy to be able to say that this house is our own and that we've poured our hearts into making it our own.
Alyssa and Ryan are among the more than 155,000 people Chaffa has helped become homeowners since 1974. It starts with homebuyer education and connecting you with a statewide network of participating lenders. Get started at chfainfo.com/yourhome. Chaffa is an equal housing lender.